I don't like giving a whole lot of rules because, they're going to get broken. The standard is, like you say, practice starts at 2 o'clock. I mean, that means be at the gym by 1:30. Once you start handing out a lot of rules, you're setting yourself up for failure. But when there's a standard, these guys know, hey, we're going to be here at this time, or, we don't talk when coach talking, or, if you're late, you're going to run. The standard is a better way to put it.
Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. Today we're joined by the head men's basketball coach at McLennan Community College, Kevin Gill. Coach Gill came to McLennan from Waco's La Vega High School. In 3 years at his alma mater, he led the Pirates to a 92-11 record and a state championship for the first time in the school's history. Coach Gill took over the program at MCC in 2002. In December of 2024, Coach Gill reached his 700th career win, a milestone so significant that Waco's mayor declared it Coach Kevin Gill Day. He has earned the NTJCAC Coach of the Year 9 times, including the 2024-25 season when he guided the Highlanders to a conference championship with a 12-2 record. Coach Gill was named TABC Junior College Coach of the Year in 2014 after leading his team to a 28-3 record, and his continued success earned him the Frank Fallon Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce Sportsman of the Year Award in 2019. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at JAMODI Podcast.
Coaches, the JAMODI Podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here.
Well, Coach, man, thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on Talking Hoops with me. This is an honor for me.
Well, it's an honor for me too. I just love talking basketball, especially with guys that I've known or heard of. And, I was here in Waco when you played at Baylor, and one of the guys that I kind of mentored, Terrence Thomas, he played with you. So I stay in touch with him. So it's a good deal.
Man, I was looking over the dates and I knew you had been there for a long time, but 23 seasons going back to 2002. You're right on the money. We had a ton of crossover. We had some great times in your gym, either working out, playing pickup, and you were also around Baylor basketball in that area at a time where it was a little bit crazy.
Yeah, matter of fact, my first assistant, he actually went over there, A-Bar Rouse. And,
Wow.
he was my first assistant, and it was the first year. After he finished his first year, he went over to Baylor. And, yeah, it was kind of crazy.
I didn't know that connection. I didn't realize that's where he came from. And I only got to talk to Coach for just a couple months. He came on, and then early in the summer of 2003, and then everything just seemed to go spiral downward, and he wasn't there for very long, and always felt bad. There's a great Showtime documentary called Disgraced that really shed more light on his story, because as a player, just in the middle of it, I didn't really understand his role and the courage that it took to do what he did, but then also what happened to him after he kind of stood up and blew the whistle on what was going on there. So I always felt that bad for him of everything that he had to go through.
He really wanted to be at Baylor because that's where he graduated from. And, it's just unfortunate how things turned out.
So you must take a lot of credit for the shift in Terrence Thomas, because, and I've told a lot of people this, him and I almost flip-flopped our roles within the team, where probably our junior year, he was a little bit down in the dumps at times with Coach Bliss, and I was probably living this perfect scenario with a coach that really appreciated me, and I had a great role, and I thought we were about to be really good. And then the summer fell apart. I struggled when Coach Drew came, really buying in, and it was just a lot of false effort, false leadership. But then Terrence just completely took that situation and made his life better, was a great leader for us, one of the most positive people, and probably one of the most beloved players in Baylor history, especially with the way that he was able to stick around. So I'm sure he would give you credit, but man, I just want to thank you for helping him through that time because he was huge for us.
Well, I've known him most of his life because I grew up playing. His dad was a little older, but we would play pickup all the time. And Terrence would come up and play with us. And then, he went to La Vega as a freshman, and then he moved to Dallas. And when I got the head job at Hubbard, he was like a sophomore, a junior in Dallas. But he would come back and work out with our guys at Hubbard. And then when I got back to La Vega, like my coach, my high school coach was Coach Silver, Dwayne Silver at La Vega. And he retired, and then I came back and took his spot. And then, Terrence would come back, play with us all the time. And I mean, we just stayed in each other's lives. He was always one of those kids that were very appreciative, and he wanted to learn the game, and he was around, and he wanted to play all the time, and he was very respectful. So we kind of took him under our wings, and he just I'm proud of him. I mean, he's down in Houston now, has a family, so he's doing a good job.
Man, I didn't know that did you say you worked with or you played for Coach Silver?
Both.
Both.
I went to La Vega. I graduated from La Vega. He was my high school coach, and then I came back and I was his assistant, and then I left and took the head coaching job at Hubbard. And when he retired, I was the one that replaced him. Before I went to MCC, I coached at La Vega 3 years as a head.
I saw that in the bio and then just kind of failed to put it all together. I just recently had the honor of doing one of these hoops talks with Coach Silver. I don't know. I'm sure you feel the same way. I don't know if there's a person out there that is more passionate about the game of basketball than him.
Yeah, when you say basketball junkie, if you look it up, then you'll find Coach Silver.
His picture, his picture right there. He used to tell me that because he would come to our Baylor practices all the time, talk to Coach Bliss a little bit, and then he always say, "Matt, listen, I'm what you call a basketball junkie." And I just remember thinking, "You've told me that before, but I believe it for sure."
Yeah, he definitely is.
So you came back, took over for him, won a state championship while you were there in those 3 years.
Yeah, actually, our very first year back. But, what was very helpful is the guys that were in the 7th grade when I came back, and then Mario Kinsey, he was in the 12th grade, but I had those guys in junior high. So it was really
Oh,
adjustment.
Mario was incredible. Played, I think, both sports at Kansas. I know he played
Yeah,
basketball for
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, he played football and basketball. He redshirted in football his first year and then played a little bit of basketball. And then his sophomore year, which was a redshirt freshman year, he started for him at quarterback.
That's hard to do at that level. You could probably count on your hand the amount of guys that have been able to do that well at the high level D1, play two sports.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he took a page out of like Charlie Ward. There's not many of those guys that do that, especially at the
That's
quarterback.
right. That's right. What was it like making the transition from growing up in the Waco area and then getting to work at La Vega and then moving to MCC? What was that like?
I had a mentor that was at La Vega. His name was George Dixon, and I talked to him about it because I had no interest in coaching college sports, and I was just happy as I could be at La Vega. I mean, we had a system. Our kids were, I knew what we had every year, so it was a really good deal. But MCC actually called me and offered me the job, told me to apply. And, I talked to my mentor and he told me, well, you don't have to move. And if you don't like it, you're young enough to go back to high school if it doesn't work out. And I just finished my 23rd year. So I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Oh, you like it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it like? Because I think that's kind of a rare thing to be at one place for all those years. What has it been that's made you not only enjoy that so much to where you've wanted to stay, but really keep you from maybe taking other opportunities that have opened up over the years?
Yes, I've had other opportunities, but, it's going to have to take a really, really good deal. And I'm from Waco, number one. I have family here, but the people at MCC treat me really well. It's my program. I get to run it the way I want. I get the guys in that we want. We get to run the ship the exact way that we want to do it. And, it's been really fun, and I'm enjoying it. And I always say, before I look, the grass is not always green on the other side of the fence. And, uh, you know, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing and working with good people and in a great location. In Waco, as the city is becoming better and better. Just think about it when you first got here back in the early 2000s compared to now. I mean, it's really grown and it's gotten a lot better.
Man, that's been a fun part of making this transition from Dallas Fort Worth down here to Waco now at Midway High is learning even more about the city than I knew all those years before. And you're right, there have been so many people, not just the Baylor community, but so many people in the Waco community that are pouring into it and making it really is a special place to be. And I just can't wait for right now. I told somebody the other day, I was like, I have no answers to any questions right now. And I really don't like that because everything's so new. I'm excited to for a few years to go by and to feel like this really is home, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, the location, I mean, you're in between Waco, Dallas and Austin, and then Houston. My wife's from Houston, which is, less than 3 hours away. So, I mean, the location is really good, and, it's been a lot of fun.
23 years at the same place, and you nailed it a little bit ago. You said it's your program and you get to run it the way that you want. I would imagine culture is a huge part of what you've built there, and has led to so much success. How does that culture drive the performance of your program?
Well, when we have returners coming back, they actually help the newcomers with, how we do things. One thing that we try to do is build a culture where we have, we're pretty tough on those guys as far as making sure that they're on time, they're doing things the right way, just being honest and being good people, but just working hard, coming in and no hidden agendas, just come in to work to get better, both in the classroom and on the floor, and, be great teammates and just do it for your, not only for your family, your community, but for, our program and our community. So it's just, every day doing the same thing, showing up on time, taking responsibility and just working to be the best that you could possibly be.
Love what you said about the returners helping the newcomers. And you kind of hear these stories now at the Division I level. Take Baylor as a great example. They return 0 players from the previous team. So when how have you been able to keep, I think, returners involved with the program to keep passing on that torch? Because it seems like it's a little bit harder where you used to have juniors and seniors that are teaching the freshmen and sophomores. It seems a little bit different now, or maybe that it's even more on the coaches to pass it on. But how have you been able to do that over the years?
Here lately, we haven't had many returners. Like maybe the year before we had 2, but we probably averaged maybe 2 to 3. But this year we were able to bring 6 guys back. Here's the deal. When you have those guys coming back, they can quickly let the other guys know what will work, what won't work. It's almost like they're assistant coaches because I only have one assistant coach and then I have a volunteer assistant. So those returners are really vital in our program. They speed things up. We had guys here this summer. We were in summer 1, our kids, and with 6 guys back, that made it a lot easier. I can only imagine, I went over to Baylor last week and I didn't recognize anybody except the kid that played at Midway that's at Baylor now. And, I can tell it's going to be tough because they're not used to that. I mean, they're used to having guys there for sometimes 3, 4 years. But with us, just giving those guys responsibility, the returners take pride in the program and they want to help, and makes the transition easier for the younger guys coming in. And the easier the transition is for them, the easier it is for the team. And that way we can get down to business as quick as possible.
I asked the Oakland coach, right after they had that magical NCAA March Madness run where they beat Kentucky. I had asked him about what, he had been there for 40 years, 40 plus years. And I said, what's it like year after year kind of building that program. He's like, Matt, hold on. He's like, we're not building programs anymore. We're just building teams, almost like it's a year-to-year base. And so where you're talking about 6 returners, Coach, I think that's huge. It's like there's definitely value that those guys are seeing and finding being with you and being at MCC. One question I had for you is kind of a rules versus standards idea, because the things that you mentioned, we want them to be on time. We want them to be responsible. Those to me sound like really good standards for any program to have. Are you more standards based over this maybe long list of rules that they have to do?
I don't like giving a whole lot of rules because, they're going to get broken. But the standard is, like you say, practice starts at, 2 o'clock. I mean, that means be at the gym by 1:30. It's just once you start handing out a lot of rules, you're setting yourself up for failure. But when there's a standard, these guys know, hey, we're going to be here at this time, or we don't talk when coach talking, or if you're late, you're going to run. So I mean, it's just the standard is a better way to put it.
I like the standards approach too, because it's kind of like standards are things that we want to aspire to. Like we hope to continue to reach those. And you nailed it. Rules, they're we're going to test those. We're going to try to break those in our human nature. And people that say, well, that's not true. Okay. Every stop sign, are you really stopping? Or are you gliding through that thing? Or when you see that speed limit, are you sticking to it? Or are you seeing how fast you can get over it without getting pulled over? I think we're built, and if you can get into sin nature, things like that, but built to test those rules. But with the standards, yeah, we'll fall short sometimes, but those are things we can just keep trying to reach and stay at. I love that idea. With the culture that you built, what it may be, is there an activity that you like to do every year, or something that maybe brings them together? I know you probably feel the same way, that culture is how we show up every day, and it's the thousand little things. But sometimes there's activities that we can do that they'll remember and burns a hole in there. What do you got?
Well, every year, even when I coached high school, and I took it to MCC, and we do it every year. The first weekend that they get here, we go to church together as a team. That's something that we're going to do because, number one, I talk to the parents and I tell the parents that, we twice a year that we go to church together as a team. Now, we don't make those guys go to church with us every Sunday, but now they have the option and they can see that, there's a church out there. It may be another church that they want to go to, but, we go as a team. And what I do now is we'll go together as a team. After church, we'll go grab us a bite to eat. And then after we go eat, I take them up to La Vega, and we play pickup for about 2 hours. So they'll get to know each other. They get to go to church. They get to eat. And then the next day they go to class. That's one activity that we do. Another activity that we do every year is on Labor Day, I invite them to my house where I grill them burgers, cook them links, and we just kind of come over and have a good time for a couple of hours. And because it's more than about basketball with me, it's about building camaraderie, good relationships, being good teammates. And I like to see those guys outside of the gym doing other things together. And that's a tradition that we always have too. Is Labor Day, they're going to be at my house. And then we try to get as much volunteer work as we can get in. The Iron Man, that's on a Sunday morning. We'll go down and we'll help out with the Iron Man. And then this past year, we went to China Spring Elementary and La Vega Elementary, and we was able to hang around the kids and be able to get down to their level and have a good time and just do other things besides basketball.
I love all of those activities. Church together as a team. That was a major change from the Coach Bliss era to the Coach Drew era, is that we met at the Farrell Center on a Sunday morning, and Coach Tang led us all to his church. And I'd grown up going to church, so that wasn't anything new for me. Some of our teammates hadn't, but we had donuts for us. Some of those donuts might have been thrown at each other on the ride to the church. That wasn't a good idea. I blame one of the walk-ons for doing that. I don't know which one, but it was a cool time to get to like you said, see everybody outside of basketball. And there's something I think disarming about that, where we can get their guard down a little bit, get to see them joke together. One of my favorite things is to, whether we're eating food, we're doing something yet, where I just get to listen to them talk to each other about things other than basketball, about movies, about music, about other stuff, and I get to learn a little bit more from them. I think that's a great idea. And then the Labor Day thing, everything that you said, Coach, there's one common theme is it's time, because I think if we're going to build these strong relationships with people, it takes time, right?
Right. It takes time. And, the more you get to know your teammate, I think the more you'll fight for him.
That's a great point, because you probably heard this before, that especially maybe on the boys or men's side, that they don't necessarily have to be friends to play together, because maybe there's just like the competitive nature that can bring us together. We just want to win. I don't care if I like you or not, we want to win. But those teams that do truly care, they seem to have an ability to go deeper in a game, deeper after losses, stick together more.
Yeah, you saw a perfect example of it this year with OKC. I went to a basketball game last year and they retired Kendrick Williams' jersey at university. And the entire team from OKC was at the game, including the coach. And they supported him. And, they didn't win it last year, but then they came back and won it this year. But you could tell they're a tight-knit group that support each other. And when you do that, good things happen for you.
The volunteer work. Can you go into the Iron Man and some of those things you do just a little bit more of how that works?
Yeah, it was some lady, I forgot her name, but she, Katie, I believe, she called, emailed, and asked, could we come down and volunteer? What they had us doing, and this is our third year doing it. We would meet at Cameron Park, the bottom, and they would have, that's where the swim portion of the meet is, and those contestants would take their clothes off and get in their swimwear, but the clothes that they were going to use once they got out the water to ride the bike, they would hand them in to us and we would put them on, a U-Haul truck, and then they were able to drive it down to their next spot when they get out the water and was ready to go with the racing portion of it, the running part of the race. And our guys just love it because there's thousands of people down there participating in that Ironman. And, we was able to see them get in the water, but also we were able to take their clothes, put it on the U-Haul, and then get it to their next destination.
I needed to hear that, because there's probably a lot of coaches like me that would love to do some volunteer stuff, but just don't know either what to do, or I automatically think volunteer means I'm going to go to a soup kitchen. Volunteer means I'm going to go to a children's hospital, and nothing wrong with those at all. But I think the challenge for us is to get more creative. But let's see, there's so many opportunities that we could add value or help other organizations out. It can be something really fun and cool and simple as helping these people move their clothes down. Because I'll be honest, knowing a little bit about races like that, I never knew how those clothes get to where they need to be. But I think we can be more creative and look for opportunities instead of just sitting around like I've been is going, I wish we could. I'd like to, but I'm just not sure how.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and they give us like cowboy hats, and we'll take a team picture, and it's just a lot of fun. And the guys, and it only lasts, a couple of hours, which it goes by fast because I mean, you're working and you're having fun and you're talking, and the guys, it's just fun to see them. And then also, like my assistant coach, he has his wife works at China Spring Elementary, and the PE department wanted us to come out to play with those guys during the PE time. And it's like a couple hundred of kids that over 2 or 3 periods, we go in there and our guys actually have more fun than the students at China Spring Elementary. And same thing, we went to La Vega and did the same thing. So just those little things, we try to teach our guys to give back. Service is a good thing to give. And it's also a way to get more fans to come watch you play as well.
Doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to fill up the gym a little bit more with the you'll see these little kids come from a gym class that you have where they just want to see the tall guy that had fun with them. And so that's a good motivation for sure. I What also have you seen in the guys? Because the funny thing with serving is, yes, you are helping other people, but it also changes you. There's something that happens inside you when you do that. What have you seen?
It's just the guys they see each other playing with the other guys, and then they just it almost seems like it just brings them closer together, and they're having more fun, and they kind of let their guards down and relax a little more
I had some
because
teammates or some players at Faith over the years that you could characterize, and one I'm thinking of as a little bit of they're a difficult teammate, didn't always get along well with the other guys. But one thing is I was able to see from working with having our team working with younger kids is he was great with them. And we were able to see a part of him, like his eyes light up. He had fun. The too cool jacket or sometimes the lack of humility was gone. And it was so good for me to see that and also for his teammates, because it's almost like sometimes we need to see, oh, there's something more to that person. And I think if you're not doing some type of service or being servant leaders, I think we miss on that.
yeah, and you'd be surprised sometimes the guys you think that may not get involved, sometimes they're the most involved, and it just when other guys see that, it makes it a little easier for them.
I'm not gonna put you on the spot and ask you how many assistants you've had over the years, but I'm sure there's a lot and you've been able to help them in different endeavors that they've been at. But when they're with you, and you said typically it's just we have one assistant.
Right.
Yeah, with that one, how do you divide up those responsibilities between like what you want your assistant to do, and then what are the things that you still need to do yourself?
Well, you know, my job is to help the assistant be prepared for a head job. So, the assistant I have now, and I can tell you, I only had four since I've been here. So, you Abor, he was here that 1 year, and then
Yeah.
I had another guy named Anthony Fletcher. He was with me for 2 years, and then Coach Silver's son was with me for 6 years, and then the other guy that I got now, he's been with me for 14. So,
Oh wow.
um, I always put a lot on their plate, and you know, as far as responsibilities, especially when it comes to our team and during practice. I work with the guards. I let him work with the our post guys, and then when we go offense, break it down to go offense, defense. I take on the offense, and then I let my assistant coach. He's in charge of our defense. I also let him be in charge of our strength and conditioning. I try to give him as much responsibility because he wants that because it'll make him well rounded for when he gets a head job or whatever. And then it also gives him a chance where the kids say, well, coach is in charge of this and he does that. So they know exactly, um, you know, who's in charge of what and who to go to when they need to. But at the end of the day, I'm responsible for the program, but I also want my assistants to have a big role in it. I don't want them just sitting there where, they don't have much. I want them to have as much input in it as I do because it's our program, not mine.
That's a good point. And I don't know if I've ever thought about the byproduct of giving your assistant coaches more to do and more of a voice and more say of how the players will look at them maybe differently. I'm not saying that an assistant that doesn't teach anything in practice or that maybe is just, helps with different organizational pieces that they don't respect him. But I think you're right. I think it's a difference that players feel and look at coaches when they know that this person has a voice. They teach us things. They're just as invested in a part of this as the head coach is. I never thought about that. So I think that's another great reason to delegate and allow your coaches to time with players and to teach.
Yeah, and it also helps like when we break it down and we're in shell drill and even when we're in shell, I'm still coaching the offense and he's coaching the defense. So, if the defense is not doing what they're supposed to, he's going to stop them, correct them. Even if they blow two or three assignments, he'll put them on the floor and make them do push-ups. On the offensive end, I'm not making them do push-ups or anything like that. Defense is what we hang our hat on, but offense, we try to play the right way, number one, and we want to play a fast-paced game,
Yeah.
but we run quite a few sets. If we can't score quick, we're gonna run stuff to make teams have to guard us. And Mario Kinsey had the best saying, and I still use it to this day. When I came back to coach them and we won state that year, when I got back, I told the guys, "Hey guys, we got to really, really play defense because defense wins championships." Then Mario came back and said, "Yeah, coach, but offense sell tickets." I said, "You're exactly right. Let's do both."
I love that. And coach, I think you and I are very much aligned with the way that you view the game. I view it through an offensive lens. I always hire assistant coaches that are defensive minded because I wouldn't even care about it. My
Yeah.
my favorite book, one of my favorite books is Offense Wins by Joe Crispin. Played at Penn State and is coaching there now. Coach, if you haven't read this thing, and it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite reads, but yeah, and Mike Neighbors, I think, said that the whole defense wins championships. I think he said that that's actually like ninth on the list, defensive efficiency or something like that. It's way more about scoring points, but that's just how I view it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, like I was telling you earlier about my mentor that worked at La Vega. He was actually the girls' athletic director, track coach, but he coached basketball in his younger days, and he loved those teams from Houston, like Houston Wheatley and Houston Yates.
Man,
They would win the game like 101-95, and a lot of uh, times he'd get in a press conference and the coaches would tell him, or the reporters would ask him, your team gave up 95 points. They didn't play really good defense. And he said, well, we played better defense than the other team. We scored 101. So, I mean, it's not, I love putting the ball in the hole, and I like to see guys that can put the ball in the hole. But, we do guard because our team, we're typically at the top of the efficiency in our conference, and defensively, most of the time we give up the least amount of points. Like this year, we gave up 63 a game, and we averaged about 80. So, um, we're going to guard and defend, but I like to put the ball in the hole because I mean it makes the game a lot more fun when that ball goes through the net.
it's hard, coach, to be really good at both of those areas like you are. Is that something you're consistent in every year, or was this just a special team that could score but also could guard the same?
Yeah, we're consistent every year. My assistant, he's a really, really good defensive coach. We really take pride in guarding and defending. On the offensive end, we want to score fast, but uh, we run a lot of stuff that get guys open shots. And if they really come in, work on their game, they're going to get open shots. And we play with pace and playing the right way. When you play the right way, now you don't want guys just coming down jacking up shots because no matter what, if you take good shots, we can live with it. But when you're taking bad shots, that makes the game, first of all, it makes it not fun to watch. And then you're not going to be very successful doing that.
Like, what do you do to create pace and teach them how to play at the fast pace, a lot of possessions like you want? What do you do to get them there?
When our guys first get here, we can't officially start practice until October the 1st. Our guys get here like the last week of August. So, after we work on strength and conditioning in the morning, and then we come back to practice, and after we work on our offensive and defensive drills that we're going to do, we take about 30 minutes a day and we play games. We go to 7, and we put the shot clock on 24 seconds, like the NBA.
Nice.
So there's no time to be walking the ball up the floor, or by the time you get down there, 2 or 3 passes, you won't be able to get up a good shot. So now you got to play with pace. And we go by 7, everything is ones. No, we don't count a 3 as a 2. We still count a 3 as a 1 because we just want to play the right way. And that right there, that picks up the pace right away. And it's kind of difficult first for the high school kid because they're not used to playing with a shot clock. But the guys that are coming back, they kind of are more aware of it. But you do that for about a month, then now you're in better shape because the morning strength and conditioning. And then now you're learning how to play with pace.
I love the idea of that game and the short scores, kind of keep them engaged. Does the losing team have any kind of consequence, or you just roll into the next one?
two things. No, they don't. Now, the first game, like say we may have three different teams.
Yeah.
And the first two teams that play, whoever wins that game, they stay on. But then after that, you play two games and you're off one.
Okay.
If you win two games, you're still off one. If you lose two games, you're off one. But that way everybody get the same amount of time on the floor, and we keep up with your win-loss record. So every game is important. So, and then we pick different teams every day. So we're keeping up with your record, your win-loss record of each individual. And they're learning how to play with pace. So now we're seeing who could win and which guy, no matter what team he's on, he can create the biggest winning percentage. If your team if you have the worst winning percentage, that means you got to take a look at yourself and try to get better and do something differently.
Thank you. You found a really special balancing. You balanced it really well right there with the wins and losses do matter, but you're not punishing them directly after a loss. Because I've been thinking over the years, and a coach named Shawnee Harley, really helped me or challenged me with this about how we deal with losing. And she was the former Canadian women's Olympic basketball coach for 20 years. And then she now has a program called Winning Matters. And we did a hoops talk like this. And she challenged me to think about, we want teams that aren't afraid to lose, meaning that, because that's the most dangerous team, is the one that isn't afraid to lose a game. But that doesn't mean that we don't care about losing. So for me, how do I get them to care about losing? I make them run right after a loss, or I make them do some kind of consequence. But she said that that's actually creating a fear of losing. If I don't win this game, I'm going to have to do this, this, and this. And that fear may get them to a point, but it won't get them to where, what would it look like if we just played as hard as possible and we weren't afraid of the outcome? She says that like you might actually get a higher performance or a better bounce back after a loss. And I think kind of what she said, you created this environment where both things can happen because it's two games and off. Win or lose, you're going to be off. And then when they're off, instead of them getting on the line right then and running and wearing themselves out or getting deeper in frustration, you have time for them to talk, for them to think, for you guys to circle up. I mean, that's really valuable. But then you're keeping track of who is winning and losing over time, because we do want to know what groups work together well. What guy just seems to always be on a winning team? That's a dude that we need on the floor even more. Man, coach, I think I'm going to borrow that.
Yeah, and another thing, now that's on that part. Now, when we're in shell drill and we do compete very hard on all our drills, like 3-on-2, shell drill, playing exchange drill, 3-on-3. Now we will keep score on that, and then like the losers, we may have a consequence, like maybe 5 push-ups or maybe a back with 11 seconds. So in those competitive drills, we do that. But then when we're playing like the games with the 24-second shot clock, there's no consequence. I mean, either you're going to win or you're going to lose. If you win, that's your first game. You get another game. If you win and that's your second game, you're off. But if you lose and that's your second game, you just get off and you go to the sideline and try to figure it out after the other team either win or lose.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I gravitate towards the consequence approach after competitive games. When we were having that talk with her, I just felt myself being very almost guarded about that. Like, man, you're telling me we can play a shell drill game out of a ball screen, and when it's done, the losers don't have to do anything? Like, in my mind, I immediately thought, like, how do we get them to that next level,
Yeah.
that next point? And I think it is. It's almost like in a perfect world, or maybe if our culture can get to this point, we can have players that will give their very, very best, fight to win like it's the championship, but even when they lose, bounce back and learn from it and still care. Maybe that's just like a standard of play or level that we're trying to get our teams to. But in the meantime, we're probably going to bring a little pain into it, probably.
Yeah, and it's been very helpful for us, especially like we're in shell drill. And um, like on the offensive end, I'm coaching the offense, my assistant coach. Now, they could actually, like, they get 5 push-ups for everything they do wrong. Like, if they don't close out high hands, that's 5 push-ups. You don't slide over to midline, you give up an offensive rebound. So they could get, after that drill, that one possession, then they're going to be off, but they may have 20 push-ups, and they got to do it once they get off of that drill. And now that makes them think about it. If you didn't open your mouth to talk, I mean, so you could have up to 20 to 30 push-ups off of one possession if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And that teaches them how to talk, teaches them how to slide over, close out high hands, make sure you get the defensive rebound. It's really good for us, and that's why our defense has been pretty good.
That level of accountability that you have for each possession, each drill. But I'm curious to how you do that, meaning how you keep track of all those things and with just 2 assistants. And I think your answer will really help a high school coach because we actually have similar our gyms will look
Yeah.
alike where there won't be coach, when I stopped by the Baylor gym last week and
Oh
I
yeah,
counted, I think 9 managers slash
9.
student
Yeah,
assistants
yeah, yeah,
and 6
yeah.
coaches, and it was incredible. They used everybody. There was nothing wasted. The level of accountability, like excellence, man. That's what I felt like the whole time. But I did get that sense of it's like any high school coach that's gone to TABC and a college coach says, "Yeah, I get a manager there, and then you have a manager there," and you're already thinking, "Okay, I can't do this." So that level of accountability where you're watching and tracking all of those things, how do you do that?
Well, see, I'm only watching the offense.
Right,
My
right.
assistant coach, he's watching the defense because he's already worked with them. We've been through uh, team workouts with the defense while we take maybe half of our guys and they're on the offensive side of the ball with me, the other half down there on the defensive side with him. They work on, getting over the screen, or are we icing the screen, or are we blitzing the screen, or are we going under the screen. So they already know their assignment, whatever the call is, but it's something that you have to do. If you're not going to do it, it's going to be tough. You got to open your mouth to talk. You got to make sure that you're sliding over, and helping the helper. I mean, but he watches that and he's very good at it. And that's why, I just leave him in charge of the defense because he does a good job and he holds those guys accountable on that side of the ball. And the same thing on the offensive end. We hold those guys. We want guys to come in and work on shooting, but when you get to the game, be shot ready, take good shots, make hard cuts, make the right play. And basketball it should become second nature instead of more about thinking how to play, just read and react. Take what the defense gives you.
I like what you said about you continuing to watch the offensive end, even if it's a defensive focused shell drill. And I immediately thought to the times where I've tried to coach both of them. I have assistant coaches around that could choose one thing that they're focused on, but I choose this is defense. We're working on pick and roll coverage right now. But then I also, after teaching that, I say, oh, by the way, offensively, this. And all of a sudden, coach, what I've done is I've eaten up a minute or multiple minutes where it could be a lot more efficient for my assistant coach, which at the very start of this talk, you talked about delegating and giving them responsibility. He's teaching something that he just saw. I can then talk to the offensive group. And what you start to have then is like multiple conversations with different groups, but that are on point, and you probably expedite the learning and save some time in the meantime.
Yeah, it'll save time, and then it also give your assistant coach, and he'll take more pride in doing his job as well, knowing that, hey, you're responsible for this, and uh, you know, uh, they're going to listen to you, and we're going to listen to you on the defensive side. Now, at the end of the day, you're still the head coach, but if you can delegate, that makes your job a lot easier. But it also makes the assistant's job uh, a lot more enjoyable and fun, I think.
Have you always been that way where you have the ability to delegate and give up so much control? Or is this something that you've learned over time?
Over time, like in high school, when I was at La Vega, I was basically on my own. My assistants were like football coaches, and then they really didn't want to be there. But Coach Silver would come back up and he would help me a little bit some. But basically in La Vega, it was like, and at Hubbard, when I first started, it was like a one-man gang, and it's just tough. But when you over the years, my assistant, he was already pretty good at defense, but when you put him in charge and make him the defensive coordinator, I mean, he took it and ran with it, and he's been very good. And not only does he do that, he does a lot of other things. But that's his number one baby. He prides in trying to give up under 65 points a game at the JUCO level, and if you can do that, you got a chance to win.
And you said something earlier too about people think if the score is higher that defensively you weren't doing a good job. And I've always kind of pushed back on that. When we were some years at Faith, we were really trying to press a lot and we're creating a ton of possessions. I mean, ultimately, if you're playing a game and a quarter or a game and a half worth of possessions, the score is going to be higher. And just because it's in the 80s and 90s doesn't mean that defensively you weren't working hard or trying to stop. Maybe they were just pretty good offensively that night too. But I am in the philosophy more of it, as long as we're 1 point or more ahead of them, I don't really care. I would love to be like you, to have that contrast of you scored a high clip in the 80s, but you also hold them down with all those possessions. I think that's incredible.
Well, believe it or not, basketball is an entertainment sport. Fans come to watch a faster paced game. I know when I was younger and I would go watch basketball and there was a 49 to a 52 to 49 basketball game. That's the end of the game. And then I'd go over to another game and watch a score that's like 85 to 74. And I had a lot better time watching that game that was 85 to 74 than that score was 52 to 49. It just, one was like watching tennis and the other one was like watching ping pong. And, my attention span, I like to see it. I mean, you have great athletes in basketball. They love to get up and down the floor, and you kind of want to watch them use their ability, especially if they're playing the right way.
Coach Arsenault at Grinnell College, a D3 school up in Iowa, famous for their hockey subbing. They would go shifts of 5 every 45 seconds. They played one game, coach, where they only shot threes. They didn't take one shot inside of it. They've been scoring champs for so long. They had a player score 138 points in a game years ago, Jack Taylor. But one thing that Coach Arsenault would break out right before they'd go to the game, he'd say, listen, a lot of people came to watch you play. Let's put on a really good show for them. And I always thought that, like, that's a pretty cool way of creating that kind of fun atmosphere, especially if you're going to run a gun like that. How much do you talk to your team about the way that you play is entertaining? There are people coming to watch you play, and man, let's let them enjoy it. Do you go into that at all, or is it more of just what your team's doing and regardless of who's out there?
Yeah, it's regardless, but I do tell those guys, at the beginning of the year, people are going to come watch you play. And if you play a good basketball, they'll be back to watch you play. If you play bad basketball. So we want to play fast, but we want to make sure we're taking good shots, wide open shots, shots or within the offense. If you're doing that and you're playing really good on the defensive end, you're hustling, you're playing the right way, I think the game will take care of itself. People will come watch you and you'll probably win quite a bit of games because there's so many teams that don't play the right way, or they have guys that want to go and try to see if they can score 30 or 40, which, we don't have those type of guys. We have guys that, we try to get 4 to 5 guys in double figures. And, we don't know who night it's going to be, but, as long as you play the right way, good things will happen for you.
Two things right there. I always like to tell our guys when we try to play fast is fast doesn't mean dumb. And I think so. A lot of times you think fast as you turn your brain off and it's just going to be chaotic. I actually think you need to have even more organization, more control to play fast. So fast doesn't mean dumb. When you're talking about having 4 to 5 guys that are in double figures, how do you keep egos out of that? And how do you keep team morale up when, man, it's one guy's night that sometimes it's not, or tonight it's this guy's night, or we're spreading it that much? How do you keep the me monster, coach, at bay?
Just the culture. I mean, that goes back to the culture and the standard of what we do here is play the right way. And if a guy's really got it going that night, taking shots within the offense, we're going to maybe try to get him the ball a little bit more in the right spots. But it's just the culture and having everybody cheering for each other. And, like I tell those guys all the time, if you, two things, if you come here and you're allergic to hard work and you're not a team player, this is not going to be the right place for you because we're going to be good teammates and then you're going to have to work hard. And some nights you may work hard and score 9 points and we win by 25. Or there might be some nights that you score 12 points and we get beat by 10 and we lose. So just putting the body of work and just trusting the program and, trusting your teammates.
I would imagine, Coach, that when you're recruiting a player and you call their high school coach, they probably would say that the player's a hard worker. Maybe there's a special relationship where a coach is that upfront and honest with you, like, hey, the guy's lazy. He just is. I'm sorry. I'm going to say. Oh, but I think most people would say they're hard workers. But you and I both know there's different levels of working hard. Phil Forte back at Flower Mound Marcus was at another level of working hard than most of us will ever really get to. What are some steps or things that you do to really find out that whether this kid will fit in your system, whether he really works hard or not?
Well, what I do a lot is recruit programs instead of players. There may be a guy he's at a bad program and he's averaging 25 points a game. And then there may be a guy over at DeSoto when Coach Dyer was there that was a 14-point night game. And, I knew that he knew how to be coached. He knew how to work and he played the right way. Because if you play for Coach Dyer, you're going to be able to play the right way. So I started recruiting programs and then, I'll go watch guys and just watch their demeanor, interaction with their teammates when things are going great and when things are not going great. And not only I trust the high school coach more than I do the AAU coach because the high school coach most of the time, going to tell it pretty honest, but it's getting more and more where a lot of AAU guys are starting to coach high school. So now guys are just kind of trying to find them a spot. And, one thing, if the biggest injustice a high school coach can do for those kids is not tell the truth about them because they'll put them in a position when they get there where they won't make it. It'll be tough and they'll have a hard time getting to the floor. So basically, I just try to recruit programs and then I try to do as much homework as possible, watching the kid and thinking that he may have a chance because if he decides to come in and really buy in and work hard, then he can make it. But if he has any doubts, it's going to be tough because there's no shortcut for hard work and being a good teammate and just wanting how much they really, really love the game. Some guys like it. The guys that love the game, they're going to do whatever it takes to try to find their way on the floor.
I think that when you said that you recruit programs, kind of a light bulb moment for me right there is because you mentioned Coach Dyer's program at DeSoto and what Tommy Thomas, my high school coach at the Colony, what he created. Because I think that was a big part of Coach Bliss recruiting me was because of the program I was coming from, not just of my skill. And so for me, a goal, because I would love to have players feel like at Midway or any program that a coach is at, that at our program, they can there's opportunities to play college basketball from being here. And my immediate thought there is, okay, well then we need to develop skill. We need to focus our time on that. And I think that's important. Time in the weight room, a style that does allow players to exercise their skill and play with some freedom within some standards or rules on the floor. But then that can't be it, right? Like that can't be just what the program has to be about. There has to be an integrity about the program. There has to be a culture of hard work, a culture of honesty, right? Like, and so I was just trying to think, what are the things that when you're saying you recruit, if I want that, then I need to think beyond just skill and think really bigger, higher level. What's our program stand for?
And I mean, one of our biggest skills that guys have to have is a guy that's being able to listen. Used to be the biggest skills were dribbling, passing, shooting, but if you can't listen and follow instructions, then what good is that going to do? And then also, probably the second biggest skill is having the ability to be tough, because we're going to teach toughness in our drills every day. So there's no running from it. You just something that you got to buy into and be able to, take it and learn how to be. Toughness doesn't mean just go and knock it over a guy, just mentally tough as well. So, the toughness and the being able to be coachable and listen and follow instructions, you could beat a whole lot of teams by having guys that are tough mentally, where they can make sure that they follow instructions, guys that follow directions, and being able to apply it to the game.
You been able to increase players' toughness when they get to your, from being at your program, because you're probably looking for that in them already when you're recruiting that player, maybe from their program or how when watching them play. But you feel like you've been able to, this player came in with this level of toughness and now it's at this level where it's increased.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's called every day doing those competitive drills where, they have to do push-ups or they have to run after they lose, or when those games get a little tighter, normally the toughest teams win. Rebounding drills, taking charges, just getting stops. And after a while, a guy says, okay, I'm with this guy and we're not losing today. We're going to be the toughest guy out there. The toughest teams normally win.
I asked that question just because I almost feel like there's a little bit of a split of whether, if you're not tough, can you instill that in someone? Can you grow it? And then a good question too is, if they already are, can you take them to a higher level? And what you said makes a lot of sense. It's what we do every day. It's the standards that we have. So if I'm a coach that feels like, man, my players aren't tough, instead of looking at their upbringing, how easy their life has been, the fact that they don't have accountability at home, they didn't get spanked when they were a little kid.
Yeah.
Forget all of that,
Right.
and then point that finger back around at me. We're not tough because of me. Extreme ownership, right?
Yeah, you are what you do. If you work on defense and you work on toughness every day throughout the year, you're going to get there. You are what you do. If you don't practice that, then you'll never get there. But if you don't really practice toughness, you don't practice defense, you'll never be able to be good at it. But if you practice it and you do it and you believe in it and you do it every day, and that's the standard, and especially in high school, you can set a standard where it's done like this every day. And 5 years from now, the junior high kids, they see it, they're going to come in and they're going to be, closer and more ready than the group that you first had, because, that's the standard.
So that's helpful to me as somebody taking over a new program. Coach McDade is an amazing guy, and I think he did a great job with the culture. And those guys know that he cared about them, got them playing hard defensively. Defensively, they're really good, but him and I are different. And so when I come into something new like this, the the expectation sometimes from me is for it to be there now. Like, I want those standards now, but you're telling me, coach, and you're encouraging me not maybe to have a little patience and to stick with it, and that over time it'll grow.
Yeah, you'll see the benefits. A habit takes about 16 times to break. And if you break it, if you keep doing it over and over, then sooner or later you'll break that habit. Or if you're trying to learn something, you do it 15, 16 times, 15 days in a row, they'll end up getting it. So it just takes patience and just, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it every day. After a while, we'll start seeing a little progress and then a little more progress, but we'll eventually get there. When you get your team, especially with me every year, I call them, I say, the first day look at our team, we're like a small baby, we're an infant, but we want to grow into a full grown man by the time the end of the season. So, it takes a while. So you're not going to be a full grown man at the very beginning. You start out, no matter how big kids you got, they start out as little babies when you first get them, and as a team, and then the team just has to grow into a man.
What's the reaction from those college athletes that are probably large human beings when you compare them to being a little infant at the beginning? What's that reaction like from them?
Oh, I mean, they just listen. I mean, because they know that that nobody can save them. I mean, they're here, and if they want to have some success and get on the floor, just buy in, listen, and that's what the culture is set. And then that's what the guys, the returners, they said, just listen. I mean, don't take anything personal. And we tell them, don't take anything personal. It's all about business. We're trying to. If you say you want to be a Division I player, these are the things that you're going to have to do.
3 seasons with a 77% win rate, which is incredible. So for the 23% of those games, those times that you did lose with your team, how did you handle defeat with them after a game, maybe directly after or even the next day?
One thing I tell the guys, if you win or you lose, you can't get too high after a win. You can't get too low after a loss. And basically, you really learn more from your losses than you do your wins. You could play a bad game and you win by 2 points, and the guys are forgetting about everything that they've done wrong. But on a loss, it's magnified. And I tell those guys, hey, you know, we're going to learn from this loss. Sometimes a loss is good for us because things that we've been trying to coach you and tell you that we need to work on to get better, we haven't. And now you see that one mistake could cost us, one bad turnover, a live ball turnover, or a missed free throw, or a missed free throw block out, or a misassignment on the offensive end, or miscommunication on the defensive end. We just gonna take it, learn from it. You cannot be a good winner if you're not a good loser. That's one thing you can't be. So all the teams that win at the big level, they know how to lose. And then for me, winning is fun, but losing, I hate losing more than I do winning. And we just gotta take that. I mean, because some nights in basketball, no matter what you do, you're going to lose. I mean, you're not going to make shots. You can't do anything right. The other team's making everything. So, out of 30 games, you're going to have 1 or 2 games like that. But you can control most of that and control what you can control by taking the things that we practice on, take the things that our standards are in the program, and go out and play our game and let the chips fall where they may.
Had an interesting statement about knowing how to lose. How do you build that? If that's a skill or a muscle, how do you build that muscle up besides just, hey, I hope we go out and get our butt kicked so we learn how to lose? I don't think anybody's going into the season like that. So how do you grow that?
Sometimes you can lose a game and it makes you better.
Yeah.
I always say, I mean, how many times we've won some games that were really ugly,
Yeah.
and then I'd have to tell those guys, hey, old coach told me, ugly win is better than a pretty loss. And sometimes you can play a pretty game and play a well game and you lose, but that ugly win is better than a pretty loss. But on the flip side, like I said, some nights you can do just about everything you could do, and no matter what, you're going to lose that game. And hey, you can't, like I say, dwell on losses, and you can't get too high on wins. So, I mean, it's just a game, because less than 2 or 3 days later, we got another game. So we're always worried about the game that we're getting ready to play now. I mean, we got to take what we can from this loss and make us better. And,
I think you nailed it too earlier with how much you compete in practice. When you're competing in practice and having winners and losers, but when you're competing so much like you are in practice, they're getting to exercise and you're able to see from your team how they're dealing with that defeat. And then maybe those are great times to bring them in close and talk about strategies for how we're going to handle this, how we're going to Doug Novak, one of my favorite coaches, starts off each season by saying, how are we going to, or asking the question, what are we going to do when we lose? starts the year like that because, like you said, it's a part of most seasons. But I think if we're not competing a lot in practice, then we're only exercising or learning that muscle of knowing how to lose in actual games. And maybe we can get more reps in that by competing in practice, like you said.
Really competing in practice, it's almost like grinding for a test. And I tell our guys all the time, basketball is kind of like a test. When you work hard, practice hard, if you study for that test and you walk into that test and you feel really good about it, and every time you answer a question, you remember studying it and you know the answer, it's easy. That's like practice. If you really work hard and study for it, the games become easy. Now it becomes it's really basically just a make or miss league. That's why the NBA, they say it's a make or miss because, those guys put in all the work and you only get so many open shots. And if you can make those shots, you got a chance to win. And even with us, what helps us is there's going to be nights that we don't shoot the ball well, but we still can win because one thing I do preach, we work on shell drill, we work on different defensive coverages and our defense over and over. So when that moment arrives, our guys are ready for it. You know, one thing I tell them, you know, there's different gyms we go in that, I don't know if we're going to make shots because, the lighting, the goals, they're all 10 foot, but they're put in a different location. The wall may be a little closer or whatever, but one thing that travels is defense. And, defense travels to any gym in America, and we love to turn our defense into our offense. And if we can really guard and defend, make it tough on the other end, and we're having a tough night shooting, able to get a couple styles, get a couple of run-through passes for layups or dunks, and that may get our offense going. So just competing and being ready and putting yourself in the moment, it helps a lot.
Coach, this has been such an enjoyable time. You gave me over an hour of your night, and I just really appreciate you, how faithful you've been at MCC over the years, and I can't imagine all the players and coaches that you've just been had a huge influence on. So, Coach, thank you so much for this.
Man, I enjoy it. And this is a great platform for you. And I hope you keep doing it because there's a lot of good coaches around. And as much information as I can get, you never too old to learn. And you can always learn something every day about basketball. And that's why a lot of the young coaches, I hope that this is what I did, is go around and try to soak up all the knowledge that you can. There's coaches that coaching at the junior high level that you can go watch a game. You may be able to get a drill from them. There's something, you can always learn something from somebody about this game. And the more you know, the more you have in your tool shed to use. And when you have it in your toolbox, you never know when you're going to need it. And
Sure.
It can be helpful. Our practices are always open. When school starts on Monday and Wednesday, we'll practice at 4 to 6. On Tuesday and Thursdays, 2 to 4. And Fridays, we don't have school on Fridays at MCC, so we practice Friday mornings, 8 to 10. But if they want to bring their team out to a game, just let us know. They can email me, and we'll definitely fix it where they can get in and bring their team at no cost. And it's a fun game to watch. JUCO is really, really fun. When I was at Hubbard, I would bring my teams to watch MCC play, Baylor play. When I was at Vega, I would bring them to those games. And JUCO is such an exciting game because you're right there on the crowd. The crowd is right there on the floor. And it's such a fast-paced game that it's some really, really good players that come through JUCO, and it's fun to watch.
Coach, I think you're right on the money, and you can expect for the Midway Panthers to come out and watch you play this next year. Can't wait for that. And again, Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.